Hey Weasleys, this is Charlie, and you're watching The Burrow. So I know that there are many of you out there who are wondering, how can I start to write a story? I've never written anything before. I don't really understand what makes up a page, what makes up a sentence, what makes up a paragraph, but I have this really great story in my head that I want to put down on paper, right? So the first thing, of course, I would tell you if you are one of the people in that situation is just to start writing and try and begin to figure things out for yourself. The second piece of advice, however, is I would go find your favorite book, turn to your favorite passage, turn to your favorite page, turn to your favorite chapter, and start to break down, word for word, what makes those pages work, what makes those sentences flow, what makes you feel something about that work that you're reading, right? Now I do want to point out before we get too far into this that you will need to understand what words like prepositions and articles and all that stuff means before we're going into that, before we're going into this video rather. So before you go any further, if you think you're not terribly familiar or comfortable with again, words like preposition, conjunction, linking verb, things like that, just go look up parts of speech real quick, give yourself a primer that'll make understanding this video a lot easier going forward. So before we actually dive into this technique, this exercise that a writer friend of mine taught me when I was working back in the States, basically what we're going to be doing, right, is we're going to, again, look at a passage from a book, and we're going to look at how each sentence is put together. Now you might be wondering, well, what exactly is the point of that? Now when I mentioned this technique sort of in passing quite a while ago, like back towards the beginning of the channel, someone had sort of dubbed it the reverse engineering of a story. And I suppose in a way that is true, but I would say it's more like the reverse engineering of effective prose. This exercise isn't going to allow you to complete it and then come out with a shiny piece of fiction or creative nonfiction, whatever the case may be, that you can go out and sell, right? It's not going to give you the idea for your story. It's not going to give you your idea for characters or anything like that. All it's going to do for you is show you how to put things together. So having said that, let's take a look at how we can break down a piece of writing, word for word, and start to get an idea of what should go down on a page for effective prose. Right, so let's take a look at the excerpt we're going to be using today. This is from Margaret Atwood's Oryx and Crake, something Emily recommended to me not too long ago, and I really liked the style, and I liked the work overall quite a bit. So just as good place as any to get an excerpt from, right? So let's go ahead and take a look here. On the white beach, ground up coral and broken bones, a group of the children are walking. They must have been swimming. They're still wet and glistening. Now for the sake of time, we're just going to be focusing on the first sentence here. So let's actually look at the sentence broken down into parts, right? So to begin, we have a preposition, an article, an adjective, a noun, our punctuation, another adjective, a noun, a conjunction, an adjective, a noun, punctuation, an article, a noun, a preposition, an article, a noun, our linking verb, and our verb, right? So of course we're going to go over here to our word processor, and we're just going to follow the same exact formula, using the same parts of speech to sort of to put together what is an effective sentence, right? So let's see, from the dead wood, dead woods, comma, dried leaves, and let's see, shattered branches. And of course we need to put in our punctuation again, and let's keep going here. The smell of an ember is growing. Right, now if you look at this is sort of word for word in the same exact format as this excerpt we're taking from Oryx and Crake, right? Right down to the prepositions, to the articles, to everything, right? You'll notice it's actually in the same verb tense as well, which may not seem that important, but of course if you're going to change tenses, you're going to be changing the words you're going to be using, how many words you're going to be using, the parts of speech you're going to be using. So for the sake of this exercise, I really recommend that you stick to the same tense. It's worth pointing out that we're just doing one sentence today, as I said, for the sake of time, but you can expand this so you're doing pages at a time. And I just want to point out to you, this, as you can tell from my example, is not necessarily going to give you a great piece of prose at the end of the day. It's just so you can understand what goes into the page of a short story or into the page of a novel length piece of work, so that you can start to get it in your bones, right? So you can start to sit down and write without having to think about it too much. What makes a good paragraph? What makes a good sentence? And ultimately, what makes a good finished piece of work? And that's really the point. So as you can see, there's nothing terribly complex about this method, right? I would recommend that you, instead of having to look back and forth from page to screen all the time, transpose the work that you're going to be sort of learning from, for lack of a better term, onto your computer as I did, so you can just sort of look back and forth from one window pane to the other. And yeah, if you have tried this before, or you are now going to try it because of this video, be sure to let me know down in the comments below if you feel like it does anything for you, if you feel like it's useless, so we can engage in kind of a fun, instructive conversation for everybody, right? So, on that note, guys, thanks always for watching The Burrow. We're going to have more great videos for you soon. If you haven't seen it, Emily put up a video recently sort of cataloging her history as an artist, so please check that out. Thanks always for your support, and we'll see you here next time.
And Bumblebee Babe versus Plant Pete. Scary drawings. I remember I stayed home